Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Whitehouse. I am the founder and chairman of Conference 21. Welcome to the Conference 21 Weekly Round Table. It is now May, which means we are coming up to the May edition of Conference 21, which is very exciting. We have 48 speakers lined up this time, 3 of whom are, of course, here on the screen with me. For those of you who were with us in February, you may recall we had 28 speakers in February. Now we have 48. So very exciting movement in the right direction, up and to the right, as they say. We do now do the weekly roundtable twice a week, Tuesdays at 7 Eastern and also Fridays at 2 Eastern. And they are all available at the Conference 21 Facebook page. So I like to vamp a bit for the first 60 seconds or so, because that's how long it takes people to notice the notification that we've started talking. And once they start to show up, then I hand it off to our far more interesting guests than me to share their stories. So we're going to do a quick round of introductions, and then we will launch into our conversation. So we'll begin with Cortne. Tell us about yourself and what makes you awesome.
Oh, all right. Well, that's my awesome sauce. Well, I am Cortne Lee Smith. I am the CEO of Relationship Service Station, which originally began as a media ministry, a way for me and my husband to talk about our own individual grief journey of losing both of our spouses in the same month in the same year. But after that, God evolved it into a marketplace ministry where I actually give people grief and loss strategy based on godly strategies in the Bible, how to thrive through our loss and still be abundant as God has called us. So kind of shifting from the victim mentality and having a victor mindset. So that is who I am. That's my awesome sauce.
Very nice. And I believe this is your website here, because what we have linked on the site, which is the relationship.
Is. Thank you very much.
Servicestation.com there. So next in the round is Kevin. Kevin, tell us a bit about yourself and what makes you awesome.
Well, first of all, what makes me awesome is what makes you awesome. For inviting me here today. I want to thank you for bringing me on today. I thank you, Cortne. I love to hear your background. And one of my favorite scriptures is Romans 12:2. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that he may prove that good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. And I know you're a mindset coach, Angela, so I know you love that one too. But my name is Kevin M. Coleman. I'm the founder and CEO of KMC Empowerment. And at KMC Empowerment, we do 3 things. Number 1, we help leaders thrive through coaching, empowerment coaching. And when I say the empowerment coach, I mean exactly what I say. Because not only do we help empower those around us, but also we help to teach them in a powerful way how to find out what do they really want to achieve in life. What is their true purpose? And when through that empowerment, they are inspired to do bigger and greater things. And I help do that through coaching individuals, groups, and also organizations, things of that nature. And then I also motivate individuals in groups through empowerment speaking, going out and providing training such as I'm doing today, similar to what I'm doing today. But last and not least, and this is most important, ladies and gentlemen, what I do, I help leaders lead with excellence through leadership trainings. And my specialization is in leadership and also communication, personal development. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on.
All right, very excited to have you here. And for the record, when I bring people together on the roundtables, it is completely by random. You sign up for a date, the first 3 to sign up get put in together, and I basically let God handle our lineup. And so this is not an intentional lineup, the synergy we have here, because I know Angela certainly synergizes with Kevin, and Kevin definitely synergizes with Cortne, and here I am being the 4th guy who brings you all together. So, Angela, tell us a bit about yourself. What makes you awesome?
Well, my name is Angeuls, of course, you heard, and I work for a company that my wife and I founded 15 years ago, but we've basically been doing this for over 20 years. I'm a mindset coach / trainer, and I deal primarily with, corporate owners of business, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, but they all have one thing in common. They reach the point where they've created a self-made ceiling, so to speak. They can't seem to progress no matter how well they're doing, and many of them are doing very well financially, but they have negative thoughts. They have ideas of low self-esteem and a few other negative concepts going through their head on a daily basis. And they call me in to basically help them get through this story that they created long ago. And through mindset and training, I help them actually get rid of these stories and bring them to the present moment where this is where their power is to go forwards, whatever it takes. Some are financial, some are lifestyle, and others like are spiritual. So, it's all the same.
Awesome. Definitely excited to have you. Angeuls, of course, you've been on here a couple times.
Yes.
And Cortne and Kevin, I'm meeting you both for the first time, but I'm definitely excited to have you. The great thing about running this conference is that I get to be surrounded by amazing people. The challenge of it is I get to be in the lineup too, so people compare a speaker like me to speakers like you. So, but that's okay, because I get credit for bringing everyone together as the chair, so it's okay. But yeah, I'm very excited about our next 20 minutes of conversation. So in the setup, I have you send me kind of topics that you want to discuss, and they sort of what Cortne and Kevin sent were both along lines of transition. Cortne, of course, around grief. I think Kevin is more about kind of taking advantage of transitional spaces. But it seems to me those two topics sort of synergize together.
Yes.
And a little bit of the silver lining and making the best of it. So I'm going to let Cortne kick us off, and then we'll sort of kick it around and see where the conversation goes. So Cortne, lead us off.
I think my awesome sauce is here because I might be the only girl. It's the guy who knows a girl. But I'm going to talk about, you're talking about the pieces of talking about mindset. You're talking about transition and change. And I think it all goes back to we're grieving every day when we lose control of the way that we want things to be. That's what really grief is, losing control over what we really thought we had control over. We don't have control over life. We really don't have control over our finances. So if we are very realistic with ourselves, grief is really like a tantrum with God. It's saying, I didn't get my way. And that's the perspective we understand in a child's like mind is I didn't get my way. And depending on how dramatic it is, if we all can remember when we were a child and our parents promised us something and we got to the store and we didn't get it, all of us didn't throw ourselves on the floor and have big tantrums, but we somewhere in the inside of us, we were like, okay, I'm blaming you for me not getting my way. I'm blaming you for not being where I want to be. So it's kind of like that blame game back and forth with God or the world that we have. And ultimately, I tell everybody every day, we need to grieve. We need to grieve whatever it is that we lost control over in the previous day. And if we give ourselves that small amount of time every day, then we're truly grieving in a healthy way instead of waiting to just the major things happen. Because then we learn the process in the little things. And in our world, we really don't normalize grief. We just kind of sugarcoat it because we tell people be strong. We tell people get over it. We just say that's part of life. But part of life is death, whether it's big or small or little bitty deaths that occur daily in our lives. We need to learn how to cope with those things.
I love that concept. I've never heard that idea of grieving over the little losses every day, but that really makes a lot of sense and ties in some of that empowerment, but also the gratitude as well, which is part of that process also. Kevin, what are your thoughts?
I love your perspective on that first and foremost, because when I think about grief, I think about something I just recently went through. My brother was in the hospital in September. Actually, July, he went into the hospital because of COVID. We thought that he was making headway. He was on a ventilator back and forth, coming on and off. And we were praying. We were doing all the things necessary as a family, getting the church involved and things of that nature. And he didn't make it. On September 11th, he transitioned to be with the Lord. However, even in the midst of that time, and all that struggle and all that back and forth with the doctors and the nurses calling and checking on him because we couldn't visit, there was one point when the doctors was asking us to just totally cut everything off. They were saying he's not going to make it. Everything's failing. And for some reason, and I gotta tell you the reason. I was at a point where I was a little upset and struggling with it. You know, that I was experiencing a pre-grief. I don't know if you can do that, but it was a pre-grief thing going on there. And when I was on the phone with the doctor, I was getting a little frustrated. And my wife came upstairs in the office, and she was listening to me going back and forth with the doctor. And they were asking me to turn everything off because it was that time. They were doing it nice, so don't think they're wrong. And she just whispered in my ear and said, Kevin, ask them to give him 2 more days over the weekend. This was a Friday. So I gave him 2 more days. That following Monday, everything started changing. All the different signs, his vitals started coming back. Everything started seeming like everything was going well again. And then subsequently, a week later, things fell off again, and he did pass on to be with the Lord. However, the biggest thing I learned from that experience was this. Even in the midst of things that you think may be the utmost negative that could happen in your life, you still have hope. Mm-hmm. You need to hold on with positive expectation. That's what I define hope as, holding on with positive expectation. And by me holding on with positive expectation in a higher source other than me, my wife is that filter to pour into me to have that hope that I needed at that time. It helped the grieving process. Because I already saw what the Lord could do. He showed me how he could, things that looked so bad, he could bring it right back to fullness. And then it happened again. But nonetheless, I still had hope. So when we're talking about the grief process, or we're talking about the process of change, you need to have hope in what's going on. And hope doesn't mean you just wishful thinking. Hope is an actionable item, meaning you need to do something in order to put yourself in the right frame of mind, in the right sphere of influence in order to make things happen in your life. Mm-hmm. And it's all about what, Angeuls? A mindset. A mindset. Yep. So absolutely. I can sit all day and think one way or think another way and see how things happen in my life. But if I haven't, sought the Lord or done the things necessary in order to train my mind to be positive in my thinking, train my mind to be actionable in the things I need to do, guess what? Hope is lost. So that's just a quick synopsis of what I think about grief and what I think about having a mindset of change and going through the changing process and the grief process.
Yeah, I love that. And I was going to say one quick thing, and I'll hand it over to Angeuls. One concept that I like is the idea of we're the result of all of our choices. And some people say, well, I don't have good choices. I'm like, well, then you have the choice between something bad and something else bad, but you still have choices, and you still made the choice. And, even you're in a situation of, should you keep them on the ventilator or take them off? That neither was a good choice, but you had the choice. And when you embrace that I have the power to make this choice, even between bad and awful, it's still my choice. It really changes the way you approach things, as opposed to, well, I don't have any choices. Things are just happening to me. What can you do? Which is certainly an aspect of mindset, which brings us to Angeuls.
It's a difference between grief and faith. And I totally understand what this is all about. When it comes to grieving, like the dear lady said, it comes in many shapes, forms, comes on a daily basis because the mindset is set in the past. Our memories are based in the past. And being in the past, we tend to live it in the present, and then that skews our future. So when my clients come to me, or my students, they ask me, how do I get past this loss, this grieving, this sadness, this stuckness? I feel like I'm broken. I need to be fixed. And that's not true, because we have a saying here in my company, you're whole, complete, and perfect, but you just forgot about that. You were born whole, complete, and perfect, but you just doubt that as an adult. Kids don't. So we have to get kind of back to that childlike mentality. And just to give a point of reference, I understand the grieving process. I've had some of my loved ones pass away, not just in COVID, but most of my cousins that I grew up with passed away just in the last 3 years. And I've had some people in the family, unfortunately, my uncle, particularly my aunt, commit suicide. Talk about not coping with the grief. And my wife and I have gone through personal financial embezzlement. One of our family members, partner, so to speak, stole $3.4 million of our assets and properties. It was devastating, to say the least, because we were supporting a lot of families and people at universities with these properties. So, and I suffer from depression. I manage it since I was a child. And I've learned that none of that matters. If we have a place to go, and that's the biggest lesson when I deal with people who are grieving, I tell them, where's your there? You're talking about where you were, where you are now, grieving for something of the past. The past 2 seconds ago is as dead as 2,000 years ago. So why are we stuck there? Why can't you be now and create your future? Because if you stay with the grieving too long, it itself will create a future you won't like. So I always ask, where's your there? Very educated individuals, people with doctor's degrees, have come to me not having an answer to that. And that was their primary way to get out of the grieving. And I have professionals who are extremely doing well in their businesses and in corporations, and they have this emptiness, like a hole in them. And they'll come asking, what is your qualifications, Angeuls? I've read up on LinkedIn. I've been on other social media. I've seen your stuff and maybe some videos, but what is your qualifications? And I said, well, I'll give you my qualification after the half an hour assessment. I always give my clients, potential clients. And then I said, if you don't need me, I will refer you to someone else if I'm not fit for you. But if I am the one that you think would fill that hole you came with, you can never ask me again for my qualifications. So usually the deal is made. And if I work for them, they want me, I don't tell them my qualifications. I tell them, all I want to do is fill your hole. Somebody sent you to me because you're grieving so much you can't seem to fill it yourself with your experience, your education, your worldliness. So it's something beyond material needs. So when I get them to there, where's your there? Where's your there? What do you wish to be? What would you like to be? And then once I've established, it takes time because everybody's there is a little bit different. Some want to be more with their family. Some other people want to be with the hobbies. Others want to go back to a spiritual background. They left the church for the business, and the business now is not satisfying them. So then there's social groups, family. Maybe they're bad managers of monies and they have to take care of their finances, whatever. These are their theirs. And once I get them to experience this, here's the tricky part of it, the magical part of it. To help them get to the there, I have to get them to live it now. Because now is the only power you got. The future's not written. The past is gone. You only have now. And that now, if you let the grieving take control, will create one type of future, which is not acceptable or likable or necessary. And that's the reason why I do what I do. Because they need to get rid of that. But if you're present, and I said, think of it as this way. The present moment is the only time I use the term the holy now. Everything comes to you now. God doesn't speak in the past. He doesn't speak in the future. He speaks to you now. Your spiritual intuition comes to you every moment of every day, in the moment of now. Now is all your power. So when people spend it reminiscing too much on the pain and fearing or not knowing how the future is going to turn out, guess what? That's exactly what it's going to turn out. Whatever you look back 5 years, if you didn't like your life 5 years ago and you don't like it now, guess what? 5 years from now, it's going to be the same. So I transition them, get them to experience their now, their joys, their life grid, so to speak, the ones I've mentioned, and something funny happens, something strange happens. It's almost immediately. They have trouble focusing on the grief, focusing on the past, and all of a sudden, opportunities come. They were always there, but they were ignored because the person was grieving. Now the person's focus is off the grieving and onto living. And all the opportunities, now they recognize this is the path to the future that I desire most. This is the hope. This is the faith. And that is what I work towards with all my clients and students. And I do a really good job at that. Any questions?
That's fantastic. And listening to you guys, and I'll let you take it back over. This is a lot of what I built Conference21 around is these bringing together these awesome perspectives and awesome ideas. And I keep telling people I am not the same person I was in November, because I could hang out with folks like you multiple times a week, and you just can't help but become a better person. You hang out with such great people.
Join us. You're out there, got to join us.
Yeah. So enough buttering you up. I will put the link up to buy tickets and let you guys keep talking. So just keep going. And of course, invariably, one of the this is a great interview, and it's the one where I have a conflict at 7:30. That's just a half-hour show, it's an hour show. But we got 5 minutes left, so keep talking.
I wanted to talk about pre-grief that brought up, and I think pre-grief ties into actually both of what you all said. A lot of times, and I can speak for myself, before my husband passed, he was actually diagnosed. And, that's where we stay at the diagnosis, because somebody else told us that something was going to happen. And we already start to grieve and shift our life to living less than, instead of saying, okay, we're going to live these days out to the fullest, and we're going to pack everything that we can into these days. So there is a perspective of how you choose to take that diagnosis. Do you choose to take that diagnosis and proclaim death on that day? And like Angeuls was saying, so is that your day of death, the day that the diagnosis or the voice was given to say, okay, you're sick, because they said he wasn't going to make it for 2 years. He made it 4 years. So it is depending on how you want to wrap your arms around it. Just like you were saying, Kevin, hey, those 2 days made a difference in your brother's life. You have no idea what those 2 days did for him. And that's why I say us understanding that the diagnosis is just to say live more fuller in the time that we're given with somebody. Because, a lot of people say, if God told us the day that we were going to live, would you live your day differently? So if we all live like today is our last day, we would live more fuller anyway. And that's the thing that I really like to tell all of us, we need to live fuller lives. We need to be more than alive. And we need to just learn how to love unconditionally in the space that we're in and enjoy every moment, because every moment counts. We spend too much time trying to direct where our future is going to be, or stay with our past habits. And where we really need to be assessing daily is saying, did the seeds in the past we plant, are those the fruits that we really want to eat? Are those, do we need to chop those fruits down? Because I don't want to eat some of them fruits or the seeds that I planted in the past, So
Yes.
we need to be very clear. And that's why I say, when you're talking about that pre-grieving, it's a mindset. When somebody tells you something, you begin to think about it.
Yeah.
You begin to say, okay, how do I prepare myself for this? And I can speak about that as a caregiver. When they take you into hospice, we all make decisions. My grandmother was 94 when they said that she had cancer. She made a decision that I want to live the way that I've lived, or however many days are left, versus living a less than life. She was like, I got a full head of hair. I want it when they put me in the ground. I want my own teeth, my own eyes. I don't want to lose any weight. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to live the little bit of time that they're going to give me because of this in worse shape. So we have to be careful on this journey. Are we holding on to people because we're selfish also? Are we keeping them in a place?
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So that pre-grieving is something, it gives us a period to think about. Let's allow this person to live as much as they can, but do not trap them in our beliefs. And I was actually blessed by something my daughter told me yesterday. her grandfather is in his 90s. And she said he spent all his life eating the way he wants to do, living the way he wants to. So why is he going to change at 90 just to get a few more years? So he's happy with the life he's had. Nobody needs to tell him he needs to stop eating fried food or stop eating sugars. That time is over. You know, it's not like he's trying to add another 20 years to his life right now. So, and that's the thing, you know, when people, he's lived a full life. He's retired 3 times in his lifetime. He's traveled the world probably 3 times over. So he's experienced more than most people have in their lifetimes. So we have to realize how we're trying to make people conform to our living also. So I think that's really a box we put people in, that you got to grieve this certain way, you got to act this certain way, you got to stay to these particular standards. And when we do that, we lose the whole meaning of the uniqueness that God created us to be as individuals.
My grandfather was like that. He was dying of lung cancer, and sat also with a friend of mine's stomach cancer, unfortunately. And they were hanging on for dear life. And when everybody left the room, I did what was necessary. I gave them permission to leave, because I told them, it's not about us. Don't worry about us. We'll be fine. You don't have to feel guilty. You don't have to grieve at the fact that you have to stay longer because we're demanding. Because my family's not, it's not an offense. It's not a judgment. They can be very selfish and thinking about themselves when a loved one's ready to pass on. But once I asked my grandfather, what do you want? I said, go, don't worry about it. He passed away shortly after I left the room. And everybody thought he was going to be around for a little bit longer. And they always ask, what did you say to him, Angeuls? What did you say? I said, I didn't say anything. I asked him a question. He answered, and I said, I support your wish. Do as you please. And that's all it takes. It's a grieving on the other side of feeling the need to stay when your time is up. The guilt of leaving loved ones, never mind the ones that are going to miss the ones that pass on. So we have to take that into consideration. What's the best for them, not just for us. Yes, it's going to hurt us, but it's their party, so to speak.
Yeah, but it's going to hurt us for that little amount of time. But what are we really doing to them? Exactly. You know, what are we really doing to other people? Sure. And I like to think if we can live in a selfless world, when every action that we do is really, first, selflessness is self-preservation. So that means we putting the mask on so we can breathe for ourselves, and then let everybody else who's with us who wants a mask. Everybody don't want a mask. We spend too much time trying to save people who don't want a mask. They're saying, okay, I'm all right with this being my last breath. And the problem is we're trying to force everybody to take a mask. Everybody doesn't want one. And I mean, that's not a COVID symbolism.
You can't force. You can only be lovingly there supportive, but you can't force, because force only brings on more reflection, and headbutting. So unconditional means that. And I understand what you're saying. If the word was more unconditional, or individuals were, there won't be a need to rebel, to grieve over the unnatural things. We would be grieving over that which we were meant to grieve over, not these feelings of loss, guilt, oppression, and retaliation for slights that we thought was done to us but wasn't. It's all about how we present. Well, our mindset is infectious. If we have the correct and balanced mindset, it also makes others inspired to follow suit. So you're both of you, from what I can see, right on the I would say on the wave of the learning curve when it comes to the populace. You guys are already, waiting for everybody to catch up, and that's where the faith comes in. We have to be patient. It will come.
So I could definitely listen to you guys talk for another 3 or 4 hours, but unfortunately, I do have to go. But I'm going to Kevin, one last word, because he's very meditatively sitting there listening. So I'm sure he has a thought he wants to share. And then
it's a lot of great information. It's a lot of great information. But the end of it all is this: grief is a process.
Yes.
Everyone will go through this process differently. However, when you are going through the grief process, You need to understand it's taking time. And sometimes when you are that person, whether you are a caretaker, whether you're a family member, whether you're a husband or wife, you need to take time to listen to some things they may have to say. And make sure that time is precious. Because many times when I talk about coaching, I'm going to keep it very short. Don't worry, Michael. The many times I'm coaching clients, it's all about listening. Listen before being heard and understand before being understood. And that's so empowering to those that are going through the grief process. It's so empowering to those who are passing away. And that's what we need to remember, to listen before being heard and understand before being understood.
Yep, that's huge. And it's actually a coaching certification course I need to run off to. So, and you teach the exact same thing you do. So it's okay if I'm 5 minutes late. So I'm listening to you. I'm doing something else. So.
Hey, take care, guys. Thank you.
Yep, but so everyone can find, each of these fine folks will get an hour on the stage at Conference 21 here in May. You can get your tickets for only $21 at conference21.com. And you get to connect in the networking segments in between. So you get to have the same experience I do, talking to them face-to-face like this. So, well, thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, everyone, for being on. This has been a fantastic show. I love it. This is why I run the conference, for this experience. And I will see you all in a couple weeks.
Everybody, have a great evening. Stay safe.